Misses. Caught. Diggs. Sideline. Touchdown. Unbelievable.
All right, grab your morning coffee, your evening bourbon, or maybe just some water. Look at you. Look at you looking all dehydrated. Grab some water. It's important to stay hydrated all throughout the day and all throughout the night, as it is time for the first ever Kyro Sports Instant Reaction. It is September 5th, 2024. Tonight was the opening of the 2024 NFL regular season. Thursday night, the Chiefs took on the Ravens at home. The Chiefs took home the win, 27-20. First off, just an amazing season opener. Incredible season opener. I feel like we've been getting good games in the season opener quite a bit the last few years. Maybe even further back than that. But I feel like the last few years especially have had pretty memorable season openers. I love it when big games have like a memorable ending, or at least like a staple moment that like you remember from that game. Like last year, the opening Thursday night game was the Chiefs and the Lions. And, the Lions came into that game, with a lot of hype building around them for the season, because there was expectations that the Lions could actually be really solid for the first time ever. And they came out and beat the Chiefs opening night, who were fresh off of a Super Bowl win and would go on to get another Super Bowl win. But like the moment from that game that I remember, and I think most people probably remember from that game, aside from like Kadarius Toney drops, which if I can't remember if this was off of a Kadarius Toney drop now that I'm thinking about it. But the pick six in that game, when the Lions got a pick six on Patrick Mahomes, the modern day GOAT, that was just a statement moment for the Lions and really set the tone for the season. It's crazy because there was a real shot at the end there that the opening game of that season, Chiefs and Lions, could have turned out to be the Super Bowl matchup, which would have been insane. I don't know if that's ever happened. That's probably something Googleable. I haven't looked it up, but I don't know if it's ever happened that the opening night matchup went on to be the Super Bowl matchup. That would be crazy. Don't know if it's ever happened. Had a chance to happen last year. But yeah, that moment for the Lions last year when they got the pick six on Patrick Mahomes, and that was kind of the moment they were like, oh, shoot, Detroit might actually win this game. I was like, not just win the game, but it's like, oh, shoot, are the Detroit Lions like a team? Are they a football team? Like, are they viable? Can they go toe-to-toe with anybody? If they can go toe-to-toe with the Kansas City Chiefs in 2023, they can go toe-to-toe with anybody. So that type of thing, really cool for the opening week games to really set the tone for the season. And tonight we got a rematch of last year's AFC Championship game between the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs. And for a while in that game, the Chiefs kind of hung ahead by about 10 points for most of the game. But that did end up coming down to the wire at the end with a very exciting, memorable final drive from the Ravens, ended in heartbreak for Baltimore. But I just love that. And there were some memorable moments. We're going to get to them. But I just love that. It's just, nothing gets you in the spirit of football than you knowing that everyone in the football world is watching one game at the same time, and it's intense. It's a big game. It's, Baltimore and Kansas City, the two best teams in the AFC last season and expected to be the best two teams in the AFC this season, starting out with a heater. The last time they faced off, just less than 9 months ago in the playoffs. It was a very defensive game. They had, I think, statistically what ended up being the top two defenses last year, the Chiefs defense and the Ravens defense. And it showed in that AFC Championship game. It was a defensive slugfest. I think the final score was 17-10. I think it was 17-10, if I'm not mistaken. I know it was decided by 7 points. I think it was 17-10. Defensive slugfest. Lamar Jackson only put up one touchdown in the game to Zay Flowers in that game. The Chiefs didn't even score a single point in the second half of that game. It was so defensive, and they still won by a touchdown. But tonight, there was a bit more offense. Ended up 27-20, but the defenses definitely still showed up for sure. It was just a great game. I did pick the Chiefs to win this game, if that means anything to anybody. So I'm 1-0 in my weekly game picks so far. So that's cool. What I'm not 1-0 on is sports betting. I had a parlay tonight, and almost every leg hit. All I needed for the bet to hit was Travis Kelce to get one receiving touchdown, but he did not. He did not. Anyways, let's talk about real football. I was taking notes throughout the game. Look at me. I'm, taking this whole sports content thing seriously. I had a notepad out during the game, was jotting down thoughts throughout. It got so crazy at the end that towards the end of the fourth quarter, I didn't write any notes, so I'm going to have to kind of rip those off the dome piece. Most of this is it's just like little bullet points, little talking points. So I'm going to kind of go through these, which will just kind of go chronologically through the game, thoughts I had, some stuff we may kind of go back and forth between. But the very first drive of the game, opening drive for the Baltimore Ravens, Derrick Henry came out and scored the touchdown to open the season, which is very cool. That was obviously the biggest signing for the Ravens, or biggest move for the Ravens in the offseason. One of the biggest moves of the offseason was future Hall of Fame running back Derrick Henry leaving the Tennessee Titans after spending the first 8 years of his career there, dominating. The Titans, pretty much always sucked during that time. They had one or two decent playoff runs in that time. I don't know if you'd even count them as a playoff run. They got the 1 seed, I think, once in there, and maybe one other time made the playoffs, maybe made it to the divisional round. I think they lost to the Chiefs. I don't know if those are the same year or not. But anyways, Derrick Henry finally on a contending team, and there was some speculation, obviously, like just the name with the team. There's a lot of hype that it could be special. But there was some speculation kind of going into this game. Some murmurs I was hearing that, will Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson's styles of play mesh well? And then when you hear that at first, it kind of doesn't make sense because it's like they're both obviously running heavy players. Baltimore is the most run heavy team in the league. They got Lamar Jackson, the most dynamic running quarterback of all time. And then you've got Derrick Henry. But I think kind of where that question stemmed from of like if they had meshed well together is because if you've got Lamar who can run around, the best pairing for a running back there in those situations, if it's like an improv, if it's improv, like if Lamar is improvising like off a pass play, he can run around and either run it himself or dump it off to a running back. And Derrick Henry isn't really a swing out of the backfield, catch and run back. Now he's a superstar. He can make anything work, but he's definitely more of a hand me the ball, let me go downhill, and I'll run somebody over and pick you up, 3+ every time type of running back. So I wasn't as skeptical as some of the talk I was hearing, but I did understand it. But he came out. His first run was 2 yards. I think his second run was about 1 yard. But then at the end of that first drive, he ends up with a touchdown, which was the first leg of my parlay. So things started off great until, Taylor's boyfriend just completely let me down. But that was cool for Derrick Henry. But what I was just saying about the running back situation, Derrick Henry did get that touchdown, but he only had 46 yards in the game. Not many. But who did have a game out of the Ravens backfield? A running back on the roster. Dare I say the best running back on the Ravens roster. A little tongue-in-cheek there. Justice Hill. He only had 1 carry for 3 yards. But dude looked like a stud catching out of the backfield. And this is kind of what I was just talking about with the whole style of running back complimenting Lamar. Justice Hill, out of the backfield, I got the stats here. 6 receptions, 52 yards. Averaged almost 9 yards per catch. Strictly off of swing passes out of the backfield. So, a little bit of a check down merchant, but I think on that first drive, I think it was that first drive that Henry ended up scoring on, there was like a 3rd and 11 that swing pass out to Justice Hill, and he picked, and from where he caught it, I think he ran 12 yards, snuck in a first down, and he did that multiple times throughout the game. He looked great catching out of the backfield. Now, when you catch it, in the flat, if there's not really anyone around you, anyone can catch the ball, turn up field, and run the straight line, blah, blah, blah. But he did look good. And if you're in some like big fantasy league and you got Justice Hill, he picked you up, if with PPR, 6 points, he picked you up, 11 or 12 points. It's not bad when you're expecting that kind of player to not really touch the ball with a guy like Derrick Henry in front of him. So that's pretty cool. Then, after that first drive touchdown for Derrick Henry and the Baltimore Ravens, the Chiefs immediately answer back with a touchdown run of their own from Wookie. Freaking Chewbacca out here. Rookie wide receiver Xavier Worthy. I've been affectionately referring to him as Tyreek 2.0. That's not an extremely, uniquely clever name. That's kind of the vibe a lot of people have been giving him. Xavier Worthy off an end around. Ended up with a 21-yard touchdown run in the Chiefs' first drive. Really cool for the rookie to score on the opening drive. Imagine that must feel. You are a kid. Xavier Worthy's young. He's like 20 years old. I think he's younger than me. You are a kid coming into the NFL. You join what is right now the most prestigious franchise in American sports right now. And you come in as like a 20-year-old, and they're fresh off back-to-back Super Bowls. They're coming in with expectations that this is going to be their three-peat Super Bowl year. And you come in and to start off the season, rip off a 20-plus yard touchdown. That's got to be a freaking sick, insane feeling. So super happy for Xavier Worthy. Super happy to see that. That's really cool. But it was also really cool because, man, when Tyreek Hill came in to the league, came in for the Chiefs, he was, a kick and punt returner. He was obviously a receiver, but he also ran it a lot. I don't know the exact numbers. If I'm going to talk about some of this stuff, I didn't plan to talk specifically about this. It's, we're off the rip here. We're off the dome piece. But if I thought about this ahead of time, I would have looked at the stats. But in Tyreek Hill's rookie season, I want to say he had at least like 3 rushing touchdowns. I think he had, and again, I have not looked this up or anything. I've been a big Tyreek Hill fan in the past. I believe he had 12 touchdowns his rookie year, something close to it. And I think at least 3 of those were rushing touchdowns. That's just to say, it's cool to see what many people are looking at as like Mahomes' next Tyreek Hill, extremely speedy, small, quick receiver coming in and just being a dynamic playmaker because speed kills. And it's cool to see Xavier Worthy come in and kind of being used in similar ways where, yes, he can hurt you with his speed going deep over the top, or we can hand it to him out of the backfield and let him run it because speed kills. Anyone who's played Madden knows that speed kills. It might be a video game. It might not be realistic, but it is reality that if you can just outrun everybody and not get touched, you can be a good football player. So that was really cool. So there was a quote that came out. I think it came out today. I think it came out literally today. If not today, very recently in the past couple days, past week. Where Lamar Jackson was talking in an interview or some quote released from him from this offseason. News just broke, I'm pretty sure today. Kind of about where he's going, where he's at going into this season, and kind of reacting to that AFC Championship loss and how that kind of goes into the game they were going to play tonight. First of all, Lamar Jackson lost a bunch of weight this offseason. There was reports last year that he put on a bunch of weight to handle taking hits better. Kind of since Lamar Jackson's been in the league, even when he won his first MVP, pretty much the biggest knock on Lamar Jackson or the biggest, doubt or take was that his style of play, wasn't, conducive to winning, that the running quarterback style of play in the NFL doesn't lead to like championships or much playoff success. But also that kind of notoriously, if your quarterback's taking a bunch of hits, he's going to deal with injuries, and that's going to lead to a shorter career or lead to him having to change his play style and play worse. So that narrative around Lamar Jackson of is his style of play going to be able to keep him, going to be able to allow him to continue to be healthy, that's always kind of been there. So last year he put on weight. I believe he put on like 10 or 15 pounds for the sake of being able to take hits better. But he talked about in the offseason, kind of after that AFC Championship game, that he missed, how some of the quickness and speed that he had before and felt that putting on the weight was kind of holding him back in that sense. And according to a report from about a week ago, Lamar said that he is 25 pounds lighter than he was in 2022. So I don't know if he got lighter last year from the year before or what, but at least in 2 years, he's 25 pounds lighter. And that speed showed tonight. I mean, even if you're just looking at the stat sheet, Lamar had 122 rushing yards. Listen, as a fellow run first quarterback myself, my absolute favorite offensive play calls in football are designed quarterback runs. They're freaking sick. Am I biased? Maybe. But is it the truth? It's my truth. Quarterback runs are freaking sick, dude. I don't know why they get me so electric, but they do. And watching Lamar Jackson rip off 122 yards was freaking sick. 122 rushing yards for Lamar Jackson, and just looking at it, just through the eye test, he looked a lot faster. So with the goal of running it more and being faster, I think the weight loss paid off. But this might sound a little contradictory, a little bit back and forth. So I'm going to kind of play both sides of the coin here. I kind of thought the last few years that Lamar Jackson was making a mistake by making a point to be more pass first. So that was another thing kind of when he blew onto the scene in 2019, won his MVP, had the incredible running plays. There, I think the most famous one was that 50-yard touchdown run against the Bengals with the spin move. I think Kevin Harlan was like, he is Houdini. That's like a career highlight. That's like a career moment right there. That's probably going to forever be the most to watch Lamar Jackson highlight. But even though that season he played incredibly as a passer as well, there's always the freaking haters out there that are going to find any way to put a bad spin on anything. There's the jokes about Lamar Jackson being a running back, Lamar B. That's admittedly, that's a freaking good joke, calling him Lamar B. It's a great nickname. But I think all that talk about he's just a running quarterback, that's what makes him special. He's just a running quarterback. He's not, which it's different play styles. It's like, oh, he's not Tom Brady. Tom Brady, never had to run. He just passed it and won 7 Super Bowls. And so with that type of formula being proven, I think, and with, Lamar Jackson's style of play not proving to be a Super Bowl winning style of football to this point, still isn't. I can see where the criticism there was coming from. But what I do think was a mistake was that kind of in reaction to that, and maybe he wouldn't say it was in direct reaction to those kinds of comments, but Lamar Jackson, I feel like in the last few years, has been running less and less and making a point to be passing more and more. And I think he's still an incredible NFL quarterback. I think if he never ran the ball, he'd still be, a top 15 at least, passing only quarterback in the NFL. He's more than capable as a passer is what I'm trying to say. But what made him so dynamic in the first place and what makes him so dangerous and what makes him so hard to game plan against, what makes him so difficult to, contain is the fact that at any point he can rip off speed faster than most players in the National Football League. And either you're going to kind of lean more towards stopping the run and he's going to hit you over the top to, used to be Hollywood Brown or now Zay Flowers, or at one point it was really Mark Andrews. Now it's more like Isaiah Likely. But if you try to cover all those weapons, he's going to rip off however many yards he wants on the ground. All that's to say, the quote that came out today, I feel like I brought that up almost 10 minutes ago now. I'm yapping. But the quote that came out was, how I'm feeling right now. This was Lamar Jackson. How I'm feeling right now. I wish I was feeling like this body-wise in the AFC Championship. Talking about, getting back healthy, losing the weight, getting some of the speed back. He says, if I was feeling like this in the AFC Championship, we would have won the game. Easy to say, but that's how he feels about it. I would have been able to move around for my guys. With me just hurting and can't move, I know if my legs were good, we would have won that game. And this is the quote that I kind of raise eyebrows at. We wouldn't have even had to throw the ball, throwing the ball. When I first heard this, I really liked it because kind of how I was just talking about, what made Lamar Jackson so special and dynamic in the first place was his ability to move on the ground and run it better than any quarterback we've ever seen. Like, you can argue Michael Vick, but in this era, Lamar Jackson can do so much more with this style of play than Michael Vick could have done 20 years ago. So I was really happy to see him, clearly making a point to shift back into the mentality of, I'm Lamar Jackson, I'm going to run the football. I need to get my speed back because I want to run the football. And I love that. But I wonder if he has kind of, and again, it's just been one game this season, and against the Kansas City Chiefs. That is the most difficult thing to do in the sport of football. One of the most difficult things to do in sports in the decade of the 2020s is to beat Kansas City in Arrowhead Stadium. So that's a tough thing for anybody to do. But I wonder if the pendulum has kind of swung too far back to Lamar being, I don't know if run first is the right word. I don't know if he's necessarily run first, but a run heavy quarterback. Because as much as I was impressed by his speed and his running tonight, he wasn't bad. Like, he wasn't bad, but his passing game left much to be desired. So he was 26 of 41 on pass attempts tonight. That is 63%. That is what the kids these days would call mid. That is a mid passing percentage. That's not good. 273 yards, that's whatever, and 1 touchdown. So 63% completion percentage, less than 300 yards and a touchdown. That's not a fantastic game by any means. He didn't throw a pick, which is fine. I believe he did have a fumble that was lost, so he did have a turnover. So 1 touchdown, a turnover, 60% completion percentage. It's not a great game. It's not a great game. He won MVP last year, his second MVP, and it is like notably around the sports world considered, that last year was a weak MVP year. Second place in MVP voting last year was Dak Prescott. Lamar Jackson was MVP. I genuinely, and I still believe that last year's MVP should have been Christian McCaffrey. It is kind of disappointing how it's just become a quarterback award, and in a year where no quarterback clearly deserved to win MVP, it should have been Christian McCaffrey or Tyreek Hill. Both of them I would have had above Lamar Jackson. I probably would have had it, honestly, Christian McCaffrey 1 in my MVP ballot, Tyreek Hill 2, Lamar 3, I guess, then like CeeDee Lamb, then Dak. I think CeeDee Lamb was more valuable than Dak last year. I'm being a little bit rough on Dak. Anyways, not a Cowboys segment. I was not that impressed with Lamar Jackson's passing tonight. I don't know. I just hope the pendulum doesn't swing too far back. The whole F throwing the ball take. Again, I love that he's going back towards the running weapon in his arsenal. But it's kind of a bad look when your quarterback, your franchise quarterback, the position that is known for throwing the ball, the position where you have to pass the ball, it's kind of a bad look when your franchise quarterback says F throwing the ball. Again, I like it. I like the root principle of what he's saying. But saying that and then going out there and not having an impressive night throwing the ball, he had some great throws. He had some bad throws. He had some good throws. He slung it deep a couple of times on some nice connections. His last deep throw of the game on that last drive was a beauty. That was a beautiful play. And then he followed up with, we'll get there, but he followed it up with completely choking the game away because he was throwing inaccurate passes. So I just hope he kind of reins that in. It's all about, finding the healthy balance. For Lamar Jackson, I think he needs to be a little bit more unbalanced towards the run than every other quarterback in the league. I just hope, and again, it's against the Kansas City Chiefs. It's one game. That's a nothing sample size. So I'm not going to, grill him too much for it, but it is something to think about. Lamar Jackson is still at minimum a top 4 quarterback in the sport of football in the world. At worst, fourth. I'd have him higher than that. I think it's tough. I think the four in question are obviously Mahomes one, then in any order, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, healthy Joe Burrow. But we can have those kinds of conversations at another time. We're talking about Chiefs Ravens. So that's kind of what I thought about Lamar Jackson, or at least what my first impressions of Lamar Jackson were in this game. Something else that was very surprising. Did not see this coming. I did not have this on my NFL 2024 Week 1 bingo card. The greatest kicker of all time, the greatest kicker in the history of the sport of football, Justin Tucker comes out and misses his first kick of the NFL season. That was kind of sickening, to be honest. It was almost like a, oh shoot, am I getting old moment? Which, to be fair, Justin Tucker's been kicking for a long time, but he is, I think, without question, the greatest kicker of all time. And it was a 51-yarder. Obviously, that's a tough kick. It's by no means a gimme. But when the greatest kicker of all time comes out and sets his tone for the season with a missed kick, it's kind of yikes. I kind of said tongue-in-cheek right after that in my group chats where we talk live about the games. Like, Justin Tucker washed. He's done. It's time to hang him up. Not actually. But it was kind of concerning to see. Honestly, and again, he just missed a 51-yarder. He ended up making, I believe, a 25-yard field goal, and he made both extra. I think he had 2 field goals and made both extra points and missed a field goal. But like, because he came out and missed that first one, even though it's Justin Tucker, the greatest kicker of all time, I was literally nervous for every kick he had after that. The 25-yarder, which is I think his first kick after the miss. They put up a graphic on screen that was like, Justin Tucker has never missed a kick from less than 30 yards in his entire career. He's 113 of 113. I was literally certain in that moment that he was going to miss that. I was like, that is the commentator jinx right there. That is the graphic jinx. It's over. Justin Tucker is about to come out and put on the worst showing from an all-time great ever. He ended up making it. He ended up reining it in. He only ended up missing the 51-yard kick, so nothing to sound the alarm about. But it was kind of scary, especially because, like, I feel like this always happens with kickers, great kickers. There's not really a tell. There's not like an age that it typically happens. I think just at some point, for whatever reason, I don't know, a lot of kickers just kind of fall off a cliff, which is weird. I'm not making it about the Cowboys, but Dan Bailey, phenomenal, spectacular kicker for the Cowboys for a long time. I don't remember exactly how long he was there, but he had like the greatest like first 2 or 3 seasons of a kicker's career ever from some statistics. I would have been, between like 12 and 14 during this time. So I'm reaching deep into the recesses of my mind for these stats or whatever, or for this information. But after however many seasons of being like the most accurate kicker in NFL history based on like career percentages or career whatever, up to whatever point it was, he just kind of fell off a cliff out of nowhere, started missing a bunch of kicks, ended up getting rid of him. He goes to the Vikings and I'm sure, I don't know exactly what happened in his career after that, but I know within like a year or two, I believe, after leaving the Cowboys, going to the Vikings, and after he just continued to decline and was out of the league. I don't know why it happens for kickers that way, but it just kind of does. Some are much, longer lasting than others. You got Vinatieri, who kicked till he was like 60. But I'm kind of basing this off nothing because I don't actually know the stats. I haven't looked them up or anything. But I feel like I remember Vinatieri kind of falling off a cliff towards the end there too. I could be BSing right there, but I don't know. I feel like that's something that's caught my attention about kind of how kickers' careers end, which is strange because I just feel like it normally becomes like a fall off. Maybe it just feels that way because it'll be like a kick missed in a big moment and then they'll miss again and blah, blah, blah. But anyways, surprising for Justin Tucker to come out and miss his first kick of the season. Something else I did not have on my Week 1 bingo card was Patrick Mahomes throwing an interception before he threw a touchdown. It was a bad pick too. I only saw it the one time. I don't even think I saw the replay. Uh, obviously, like if the highlights have come out, I haven't watched them. I've been recording this since the game ended. Uh, so I don't remember exactly how the pick happened, but I remember in the moment thinking that was a bad pick. Um, so that was interesting. Mahomes really didn't have, his greatest game either. Stats wise, he was much better percentages than Lamar. Lamar threw it 41 times. Mahomes only threw it 28 times. He was 20 of 28, 291 yards, one touchdown, which was also to Xavier Worthy, who had two touchdowns in his NFL debut. And Mahomes had that interception. Um, Kind of going into that, I thought it was a bit strange how little Mahomes was throwing the ball. So as we just pointed out, he only threw 28 passes to Lamar's 41, and we already talked about how it seemed like Lamar was running it, more focused on running it than he was passing it, and he threw it, 13 more times than Patrick Mahomes, who is certainly a passing quarterback. He can do everything, but so that was strange. Um, I don't know if I wouldn't say it's concerning. It was against a great defense. The Baltimore Ravens have a great defense, so it kind of makes sense to play a little bit more conservative. There's been lots of talk about how the Chiefs want to get back to that like air it out offense, back in the prime, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelsey days when Mahomes was throwing a 50-yard bomb to Tyreek Hill once a week. And they're bringing in players like rookie Xavier Worthy, who we've talked about, Marquise Hollywood Brown, who was injured and out for this game, but should be back in the next couple of weeks, I believe. Another speed demon receiver. Rashee Rice, sophomore, who had a great rookie year and came out and had over 100 yards receiving tonight. So it's been kind of apparent that the Chiefs want to get back to that very pass-heavy, kind of deep ball slinging, you know, flashy, big play team. Took me a while to get that out. So with that expectation kind of being set, and again, it's against a tough Ravens defense, it was interesting to see Mahomes throw it so little. Now, he was still efficient, you know, minus the interception. He was 20 of 27, so it's not like he was inaccurate when he was throwing or bad when he was throwing other than the pick. But it was weird that he seemed to be throwing it so little. I don't know. But I just thought that was interesting. Now that I'm thinking about it, that makes me think, how many plays did the Chiefs even run compared to the Ravens? Time of possession, the Ravens had it 7 more minutes. Does it show total plays? Yeah, okay, there you go. The Ravens had 24 more plays than the Chiefs. I guess that kind of explains it. Maybe there's nothing there. Maybe it's just that the Ravens had the ball more, but still, the Ravens had, what did I say? 24 more plays, and Lamar threw the ball 13 more times. I guess that tracks. So probably nothing. Mahomes is still great. That was never going to lead to, is Mahomes bad? Are Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs scared to put the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands? That would be quite the story, quite the take, quite the segment from Kyro Sports and our first ever instant reaction. So I'm not going to take it there. What was very noticeable in tonight's game was that the league is certainly cracking down on formation penalties. How many times have the Ravens called for illegal formation in this game? Now, the penalty count, there were 7 penalties on the Ravens, 6 penalties on the Chiefs, but it was like 3 times in the first 2 drives that the Ravens were called for formation penalties, which was kind of insane, but I mean, it's not like a call that I'm mad about. Last year, the Dolphins and the Niners, and I believe maybe the Rams, I think those were the 3 teams, maybe the Lions, maybe those 3 or 4 teams, but there were teams last year that were notified of illegal motions that they were running. They were kind of, bending the rules maybe, but it was they were trying to be as optimal as possible with we're running motion and we want to be full speed into the play. Obviously something incredibly difficult to stop. And so the league did make a point to communicate that they're going to be cracking down on those illegal motions from last year, and that, restricting that was going to be enforced. It looks like they're doing the same on some illegal formations. Now, I should have paid better attention if they were explaining during the game what exactly about the formations was illegal, because from what I know about football, it's pretty cut and dry. So many players on the line, so many players off the line, this many on each side of the ball, blah, blah, blah. So interesting. I should have paid better attention to what was illegal about the formations because, like, to the naked eye, when I'm just watching the game, I don't notice an illegal formation, and then they call it. I'm like, huh. So it would have been much better, journalism and content creation of me. Much more. I would have been a sports podcaster with much more integrity if I actually found out what the heck was going on there. But it was definitely noticeable. So that's interesting. I'm curious to see if like a lot of teams struggle with that. Like if it's, formations or types of plays that a lot of teams run that the league is just not going to fly with, or if it's just certain teams like the Ravens that like normally do formations like that or plan to have formations like that it's going to affect. So curious to see, because there's a lot of it tonight. I'm curious to see how much that affects teams around the rest of the league. Breakout star from this game. I believe last year was his rookie season, and he was very solid. I really liked him last year, but holy moly, did he have a game tonight. Tight end Isaiah Likely for the Baltimore Ravens was an absolute stud tonight. That 49-yard touchdown he had already had a great game before that. I'm going to tell you stats right now. Those are the Chiefs. We want the Ravens. Isaiah Likely, 9 receptions, 111 yards, and a touchdown. He had a 49-yard touchdown. You saw it. Your mother saw it. Your grandmother saw it. Your little cousin saw it. Isaiah Likely's 49-yard touchdown with the back juke into the end zone was so dirty, bro. It was so freaking sweet. One of the sickest plays I can remember seeing in recent memory happened on opening night. It was so dope. And what's hilarious too, like it wasn't even just like, a normal juke or like a back juke, that last move into the end zone. It was the play that originally put Lamar Jackson on the map. A lot of you will know this. Some of you might not either know this or remember this or realize that this was Lamar Jackson. The moment that put Lamar Jackson on the map initially was not 2019, his MVP year, was not Heisman winning year at Louisville. There is a very old clip. It went viral on Vine. I'm talking a clip that's at least like 10 years old. It went viral on Vine of Tyreek Hill, of Lamar Jackson in a high school football game doing a little stop back juke and then walking into the end zone, like dropping the ball like that. And I saw that clip for years. I saw that clip when it originally was going viral. I was like, oh, some high school football player had a sick highlight. Guess what? I'm 5'10" now. Okay, I've grown, but I was a 5'8" white boy in high school. I have some dope high school highlights. So, some guy had some sick high school highlight. Good for him. Totally did not know till years later that guy ended up being Lamar Jackson. But that move that Isaiah Likely pulled on that 49-yard touchdown to score was the exact identical move to Lamar Jackson's viral clip from high school. So that's layers. It's different from just a back juke. It's like a back juke that's so dirty, disgusting, and disrespectful that you like have to stop and do like a little flaunty little like walk afterwards. And not even like a showboat. It's like such a dirty juke that you can just walk forward. It's so sick. That's what Isaiah Likely did to score on that touchdown. And it was so dope. Isaiah Likely was so freaking good tonight. But then it came down to it. Final drive of the game. The Ravens get the ball with a little bit over a minute left, I want to say. I don't remember when the drive started. But they were about at the 50-yard line with 55 seconds left. And does this have like a play-by-play on it? I'm just looking at just the Google box score. Very official software over here. I don't have the play-by-play, so I can't tell you exactly how it went down. But I believe it was about 55 seconds left. The Ravens were about at the 50-yard line, down 7. I think they were out of timeouts by this point. So it's like, all right, well, we're screwed. Gotta go yard. Lamar Jackson, I think was his best throw of the night. An absolute beauty. Slings the ball down the right sideline. Caught, I want to say, by Rashad Bateman. I believe it was Rashad Bateman that made the catch. But it was like 40 yards down the right sideline, down to like the 10 or the 5, right in there. Beautiful throw, beautiful catch. It was an incredible catch. And the Ravens go down there. And I love Lamar Jackson, dude. I keep talking about I love these running quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson's much more than a running quarterback, but you run for 122 yards in a game, you're a freaking running quarterback. At least somewhat. Homeboy choked, dude. Two-time MVP. The biggest knock on him is not even necessarily choking in big moments, but like choking in the playoffs. But maybe it is just choking in big moments. I'm not gonna spin this as like full on Lamar negativity. But after that play, this is the big moment. You were in the red zone, you were on the goal line, down a touchdown with no time left and a chance to get a revenge opening week statement win against the team that knocked you out of the playoffs last season. And they go no huddle. They don't spike it, which is fine. You want as many chances at the end zone as you can get. So I don't hate the no huddle call there. You go no huddle, and you get, breakout superstar from tonight, Isaiah Likely, wide freaking open on an out route or a corner route, back in the end zone, left side. And Lamar just sails it, dude. Someone in the Discord called it a hospital ball, which is what it was. He literally, I thought he broke his hand or his wrist or his arm. Totally a scoreable play. Lamar sails it high over his head. Isaiah Likely jumps up for it, gets, feet knocked out from under him, lands weird on his arm. I thought he snapped it. I literally was like, oh, this is the worst thing ever. How many times have we seen this? A breakout star has a huge game and then ends up getting injured, like out for season or out for 8 weeks or whatever. And I was like, really freaking bummed. I was so sad. Like, that really sucked. I thought he was done. So Lamar Jackson sails it on what definitely could have, or most likely could have been a game tying or game winning touchdown. Sails it. Okay, well, he's going to get 2 more shots at scoring before time's up. What happens next? Second snap from the goal line with the game on the line. Zay Flowers. If you watch the Ravens storyline in 2024 video that we did, of all the ones of those that I made, which was like 4 or 5, that was probably the one I was least proud of. It was the shortest. I feel like I didn't flesh out the story very well. I wish I did. But one of the things I did go into in that video was Zay Flowers and kind of his incredible rookie season and how it ended against the Chiefs, where with the game on the line, Zay Flowers caught the ball, dove for the end zone, had it punched out. Chiefs ended up getting the ball, and they ended up losing by 7 when Zay Flowers had a touchdown. And how that's got to be a sickening way to end your fantastic rookie season. And I said, I said I will be very interested to see how Zay Flowers responds to that being the lasting memory of his rookie year. And with the game on the line, Zay Flowers gets a wide spanking open in the end zone with a chance to tie it up or lead to winning the game against the Chiefs. That's how you respond to that right there. I was like, how's Zay Flowers going to respond to that ending to his rookie season? And his next game against that same team, game on the line, wide open for the biggest touchdown of the game. And Lamar freaking whiffs the pass a second snap in a row. A second snap in a row. You go watch the replay of that, dude. And it's like you're rolling right a little bit. You're moving right. Zay Flowers is running to the right. And he throws it like 10 feet behind him. Like, it's bad. And it was so bad. It's one of those where Zay Flowers, they like did like a close-up as a face after the play, and he's laughing. It's bad when your 2-time MVP, throwing the ball quarterback, is throwing ducks at the end of the game with the win on the line. So that sucked for Zay Flowers, and that was hard to watch from Lamar Jackson. Absolute choke job. And then last chance, last play, I thought he was gone. I thought he went back to the locker room. I thought bro's whole arm was dangling from him like this. The man, the myth, the legend, greatest tight end in the history of the sport of football, Isaiah Likely, is back in the game. I didn't realize he was back in the game until he is going up back of the end zone, last play of the game, catches the ball, toe tap in the back of the end zone to tie up the game, except they're going to go for 2 and win the game. Isaiah Likely, already having the best game of his career up to this point, has to be, at least best game he's had in a huge game like this, opening night against the defending 2-time kind of 3-time Super Bowl champ Chiefs. Isaiah Likely comes back in the game and makes the winning play, except his toe is out. Bro's literally the Kevin Durant of the NFL. The Kevin Durant of the NFL. I don't care. I don't care what comparisons you want to make. I've heard some people say recently, like, Lamar Jackson's the James Harden of the NFL. I would not say that. But, you hear the comparisons. Is Mahomes, Steph Curry? Or is he Michael Jordan? Or is he LeBron? There's all these, NFL, NBA comparisons. I don't care what anyone says for the rest of the time. At least Brooklyn Kevin Durant. Isaiah Likely is Brooklyn Kevin Durant because his toe, I mean half of his toe. Not even maybe like a third of his big toe was out of bounds on the toe tap. It was such a good toe tap too. That was one of those career highlight moments for both Lamar and Likely. And if bro had one size of cleat smaller, the Ravens won that game. I'm not going to act like that throw from Lamar was as bad as those last two. And again, I need to see the play again to see kind of where the defense was, to where if I can justify what I'm about to say. But was the pass too high? Like, if the pass was too high, because I Likely freaking jumped and extended all the way to catch that ball. If the pass was a little bit shorter, because could he have got his feet all the way in? Again, that's a little nitpicky. But regardless, Lamar had multiple chances to score at the end of the game and choked on at least two of them, which sucks. But hey, F throwing the ball, right? F throwing the ball. Who needs to throw the ball except for me at the end of the game when it's time to win? Tough look. Tough look. Basically, what I'm saying is Dak should have won MVP in 2023. I had to throw that out there. Just kidding. Just kidding. But wow, what an absolutely incredible first week of NFL football in 2024. Incredible game. Two incredible teams. I kind of like going into this game. It's like these are both going to be great teams. I don't think there's any doubt that both of these teams are going to be playoff teams. They're likely going to be, sitting atop of the AFC. I think they're almost definitely going to be winning their divisions. Maybe Cincinnati can cause a little bit of a ruckus for Baltimore, but I'm still not convinced 100% that Joe Burrow is going to be able to pick up right where he left off, a couple years ago. We'll see what happens. I'm definitely rooting for Cincinnati to be good. I think the league is better when Joe Burrow is throwing a wrench in Patrick Mahomes' AFC. I think that's so much fun to watch. So we'll see what happens there. But I did go into this game. I think it was an incredible game. I think it's a statement game. But I did kind of go into this game thinking, does it really matter? Not that it doesn't matter. Not like to be a, NFL nihilist or anything. But going into this game, I was like, if the Ravens win against the Chiefs, like the Chiefs lost opening day last year to the Lions, and the Chiefs, is the weakest Super Bowl winning Chiefs team we've seen. They struggled so much of last year. They had an embarrassing, I think, Christmas Day loss to the Raiders that was just terrible. Maybe one of the worst games Mahomes has had in his career. But the Chiefs have kind of proven already, if they lose week one, or if they lose early in the year, if the Chiefs won 9 games this year and make the playoffs, I will have trouble like betting against them or thinking they won't win. The Chiefs have to make the playoffs, and I might favor them in every game. I would not care if they won 9 or 10 games and sneaked into the playoffs. That's just the resume that they've built, and they proved that last year. If they're entering the playoffs with a roster on par or anywhere better than last year's roster, I might favor them in every game. That's just kind of how it is, unless there's just a dominant team. But even still, the Ravens were kind of dominant last year, and they still lost to that Chiefs team. So that being said, if the Ravens won tonight, like I wouldn't think any less the Chiefs. Oh, the Ravens came in, huge chip on their shoulder looking for revenge for that AFC Championship game. The Chiefs have a lot of new receivers that they're kind of installing. So they lost. Whatever. They'll be fine. Like if the Ravens won that game, I would have thought, okay, a little bit of a revenge statement game. But then I feel like to win that game, they kind of would have been showing their hand. And, showing their hand a little bit, that only means so much. But like if they saw the Chiefs again in the playoffs, I still probably lean towards thinking the Chiefs were going to win, even if the Ravens proved they could win against them tonight. but the Ravens lost. So we're kind of right where we started. The Chiefs are the team to beat right now. The Ravens still couldn't get it done. Lamar, I think, is now 1-6, 1-5 or 1-6 against Mahomes in his career. Mahomes owns everybody. Mahomes owns the league. He owns the NFL, but he certainly owns Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. I think it's 1-5 or 1-6 now that Lamar Jackson is against Patrick Mahomes. So obviously the Ravens wanted to win the game. Obviously it would have been a great statement start to the season for the Ravens to win this game, but I don't think less of either team after this game. I think kind of the exact same. I think the Ravens are going to be a strong playoff team. I think they are still a Super Bowl contender. I think they could beat the Chiefs in the playoffs, but I think they probably wouldn't. That's what I thought going into this game. That's what I still think. Even if the Ravens won this game, that's probably what I still would think come playoff time. So to that sense, I kind of went into this game thinking I'm very interested to see what happens. I'm very excited that football's back. But I really didn't think, no matter what the outcome was, that this game was really going to change the overall scope of the NFL landscape or the AFC landscape for either of these teams. But at most, I think it could have been a huge confidence boost for the Ravens to get that over with. But maybe them losing again will give them even more drive next time they play against the Chiefs. Maybe in this season's playoffs. We will know in January, which is 4 months from now. Just 4 months from now. It's insane how much football is going to happen between now and then. It's insane how many Kyro Sports podcasts and YouTube videos are going to happen over the next 4 months. But anyways, to that sense, it was a great game, fun game. That was kind of all my thoughts on it. What else? Anything else we need to talk about? I was kind of picturing we probably go about an hour. I don't want to stretch it on. But we're creeping up on that. I will end with this. Just something to talk about related to the teams we're talking about. Patrick Mahomes is my favorite non-Cowboy player ever. He's my favorite player ever that is not a Dallas Cowboy, as a Cowboys fan. And I'm not like a bandwagon Mahomes fan. I do think Mahomes is the GOAT of this generation. Obviously, it's inarguable. I'm a Mahomes fan, dude. I do kind of think he's already the second best player of all time. And he's, 28, 29? Like, Brady, obviously, is number one. Like, I probably would have said Manning, too. Mahomes is right there, though. Maybe Montana. But Mahomes is right there, and Mahomes is still doing it, and he's going to keep doing it. I'm getting a little... And again, I'm not a Chiefs fan. I do love Mahomes. He's my favorite player I've ever watched. That's not a Dallas Cowboy. I'm getting a bit tired of the negativity surrounding him. The glazing. Like, come on, man. He is literally the best this generation has ever seen. Probably the best anyone's ever seen. Mahomes is greater. Brady is greater. Brady, 7 Super Bowl rings, but you cannot tell me that Tom Brady played with as much flair and style and constant talent on display like Mahomes does. It's different. Mahomes is much more arm talent and flashy and talent based, whereas not that Mahomes doesn't play with an extremely high IQ of the game. He 100% does. But Tom Brady was strictly I don't want to use the term game manager because I think it's a little bit diminishing of Tom Brady's greatness, but he was death by 1,000 cuts. I will just know your team better than you know your team, and I will know exactly what to do in every situation to beat you. That was Tom Brady. Mahomes is an amount of that with I'm just better. I'm fast. I can run around, rip off a huge run if I need to, but most of the time I'm just gonna sit back. I'm gonna throw bombs. I'm gonna hit dingers. I could have played in the MLB. I got an arm. I got a literal bazooka. They made a Madden ability after my arm because I can throw it so far. Because I'm a beast. Because I'm a legend. And that's Pat Mahomes. So I get the Chiefs are annoying. They win. People hate it when teams win too much. There's the whole Taylor Swift thing. Freaking Taylor's boyfriend screwed me over on my parlay tonight, and I have him on one of my fantasy teams. And wouldn't you know it, tough fantasy night for me. I have and did not start in the Kyronia Fantasy Football League. I have and did not start Xavier Worthy and Isaiah Likely. But I played Taylor Swift's boyfriend, and brother scored 6 points. Screw that guy. Freaking screw that guy. Anyway, so to that, I understand the Chiefs can be annoying. And all of the Chiefs hype and fans can be annoying. But when you're looking at the best of generation, they're going to get hyped up. They're going to get praised. They're going to get talked about. And I get really sick and tired of all the complaining about, oh, Mahomes glazing. That's a little Mahomey, or the greatness of Patrick Mahomes. Like, that's what people are going to say because that's what it is. And I hate people hating on that. It's so annoying. There's not a single NFL fan on this earth with half a brain that wouldn't immediately trade whoever their franchise quarterback is for Patrick Mahomes. And if that happened, you would be glazing or whatever just as much. So I get tired of hearing that, like, every comment section is like, okay, we get it, Mahomes is good. I've seen people have the audacity to say, like, Matt Stafford was doing this 10 years ago. This is not a Matt Stafford hate segment. But puke builds up in the back of my throat when I see those comparisons. Anyways, Matt Stafford is a fantastic quarterback. I'm not trying to derail this too much, but all that's to say, my love for Mahomes came at the very beginning. It was not, I'm not like now that everyone knows Mahomes is the greatest or whatever, or the best in the world right now. It's not like, at that point, I became a Patrick Mahomes fan. Quick story I was going to tell. I was a huge Tyreek Hill fan. Tyreek Hill came to the league, I believe, 2016, which was like my peak, like the surgence of my peak interest, like where my peak interest in football started was about this time. That was the Dak and Zeke rookie year. I got so huge into football, all things football, and like my inspiration from the 2016 NFL season made me want to play football, which I did, and that completely changed my life. Playing football, if I didn't do that, so much of my life would be different. It'd be worse. I wouldn't be here right now. But in that 2016 year, I fell in love with this speed demon on the Kansas City Chiefs named Tyreek Hill, who was returning kicks and punts in the most spectacular fashion I'd ever seen. He was running the ball out of the backfield, like we mentioned at the beginning of this episode, and he was catching touchdown passes from Alex Smith. Alex Smith was the only Chiefs quarterback I'd ever known at that time. He'd been the Chiefs quarterback at least as long as I paid attention to the NFL. So entering 2017, I was like, I want to watch the Chiefs because I want to watch this dude Tyreek Hill because he is so cool. Maybe the most fun to watch player I've ever seen. So I go into, I believe it was the 2017 or was it 2018 that Mahomes first, it was the year that Mahomes first started. And I was like, I'm going in, I want to watch Tyreek Hill. And I'm watching Tyreek Hill and I'm like, oh, Chiefs got a new quarterback. Alex Smith is gone. Okay, I don't know who this Mahomes dude is, but I want to watch Tyreek Hill. And I'm watching the Chiefs, and the first freaking game, I'm like, whoa, this Chiefs quarterback is kind of saucy, dude. Dude's kind of nasty on the football field. And I fell in love with Mahomes early, and I've loved him ever since. I thought he was going to be an all-time great quarterback long before he won his first Super Bowl. I was, again, not a Chiefs fan, but I was like so bummed out when he lost that AFC Championship game to the Patriots and Tom Brady. That was a tough, incredible game. Tough game, incredible game. But I've been sold on Mahomes for a long time, and he's so fun to watch. He's so great. He only threw it 28 times tonight because he's washed. Andy Reid knows not to trust him anymore. So that sucks, but, you know. Just playing around. Anyways, this has been the first ever instant reaction. First ever Kyro Sports instant reaction. I'm not going to commit to every single day of football. We're going to do an hour, and I'm going to stay up to the crack of dawn putting these videos together. So I'm not going to commit to that, but I will be doing these as frequently as I can. So if you're interested in that, if you enjoyed this football talk at all, if you caught my channel trailer, I want the vibe of this to just be like, you and me, we're friends. And we're just talking about football and having a good time and conversing. So in that spirit, for the sake of it being conversational and me not just monologuing to you, please join the conversation in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of this game. What did you think of kind of the things that I pointed out? Do you think Lamar's, passing accuracy this season needs to be a concern? Or do you think it was one game against the best team in football and you're bound to have a poor play here and there? Let me know what you think about anything that we talked about or anything we didn't talk about. If there's like a question that about football or really about anything that you'd be curious to hear kind of my take or spin or opinion on, let me know. I'm certain I will answer fan questions and comments, often. If I see them and I think it's an interesting question, you'll see it mentioned in an upcoming video. So that would be epic. But also join the Kyrogus Discord server. You can find the link in the description of any video on this channel. But there's a sports channel in that Discord server where I am talking about every single game live. So a lot of these points that I talk about in videos like this, they form from kind of stuff I point out during the games. So if you're interested in that type of thing, literally, I'll show you right now. This is from just tonight. We are in the sports talk channel on the Kyrogus Discord. And I mean, we started way before this, but we are just talking. This is all just from tonight's game. So if you want to be interested in my thoughts live as the plays are happening, and B, have a group of people to talk football with, in the moment or at any time. We talk football throughout the off season. Join the Kyrogus Discord, or if you don't want to go that far, just talk in the comments. But thank you so much for watching. You have made it through an hour. This has been a very fun episode of the NFL Kyrocast. I could not be more excited for this season. I'm so excited to do more of these and to kind of see where it goes. We are currently sitting at 33 subscribers on the YouTube channel. I I don't really have an expectation, but I'm hoping that enough of y'all will enjoy, this experience with me over the course of this season. And I'm very, very curious to see where we're at 4 or 5 months from now. So that would be cool. But I'm going to go ahead and quit yapping. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join the Discord, or do nothing. If you thought all of my takes were terrible, if you did not enjoy listening to this at all, even if you somehow stomached sitting through an hour of me talking while being annoyed at everything I was saying, if that's how you feel about it, leave a dislike and leave a comment telling me why I suck and how my content can improve. One of the things I value most in this life is feedback of any kind. I just love feedback. I like to know what people are thinking. I like to know people's perspective on things. I'm a junkie for information. So anyways, I'm going to stop talking your head off. Thank you so much for watching or listening, however you did. I mean, all right, I'm done. I'm talking too much. Thank y'all so much. Peace out. See ya.